Welcome to Synchronicity. I have a stomach bug or something's going on, probably processing unresolved emotion, something like that going on in my stomach, and it doesn't feel good and I'm pooping a lot. So welcome to Synchronicity. We're going to have a special episode. This episode, we're going to be talking a lot about death and destruction. We're going to be talking some Neville Goddard principles. We're going to be talking about some Lionsgate Portal stuff, and we're going to be talking about Sirius. Lots of fun things. Sirius the star, the dog star. Very positive star. I also found out very prominent in my natal chart. I got my Mars right on that motherfucker. So we're going to talk about it. Let's start with everyone's favorite topic, death and destruction. Also, let's talk about that Lebanon explosion that happened in Beirut. Holy shit. What the fucking fuck? I also feel like that's probably something that prevented, conflict between people. Mars is in Aries. We're gonna have shit blowing up. I mean, can we talk about how crazy fucking 2020 is, that an explosion isn't even that big of a deal? Like a gigantic mushroom cloud explosion is I expected that. That's the vibe that we're in now in 2020, where massive fucking explosions on social media just is all right, that's what's tomorrow? What happens the next day? But this figures in importantly to death and destruction. So a lot of people have an acute fear, or at least a subacute fear of death, and by proxy, destruction, right? Destructive energy. Destructive energy is a feminine principle, right? This is associated with a lot of goddesses. Prominently Kali is the first one that comes to mind. So a lot of people fear destruction. They say, this is bad. Why? Destruction is bad. I'm trying to build things. I'm trying to build a great life. I'm trying to build a business, build a relationship. So why would I want to destroy things? But people forget, sometimes we need to destroy what's not working for us. Now, if we apply destruction erroneously towards things in our lives that are actually beneficial, it's not good, right? Objectively, it's not good. Remember, we're in duality, and good and bad are just terms that we throw around. But, let's say the goal here is to feel fulfilled, harmonious, and just positive, right? That's kind of how we want to feel. That's the age we're moving into, the dawning of the age of Aquarius, which is nigh. It's coming around this corner, but we have to do some shit to get there. So one of the ways we do this is by destroying aspects of ourselves and this reality that no longer serve us. One of the ways we don't do that is by running away from anything that we label destructive, right? If we can harness the energy of destruction and death and apply it towards aspects of ourselves or this world that no longer serve us, right? Competition, aggressive competition, winners, losers, people having more at the expense of people having less, that shit's gotta go. And it has gone. And the coolest thing about it is the way we let that go is by letting it go within ourselves. So let's talk about some of the things that happen when we do this. You may get a stomach bug. You may get physical ailments. I know Jessa had this whole tick-borne illness thing that happened. This shit happens. Now, the correct approach when we're in this, and I say this as someone who's really acutely in this right now, is we recognize it as a precursor and a necessary destruction of some aspect of ourselves that no longer serves us. If we think something has gone wrong, if we think we were in a perfect state of balance and then something comes out of balance, we're going to have the wrong approach towards these turds. Turds? Yeah, talk about turds. I wish I had turds. Talk about I lost my train of thought when I said turd. But we want to latch on to this idea that destruction and death are positive, necessary aspects of being alive and being a human being and being a spiritual being and a human experience, whatever the fuck you want to call it. If you want to get woo, basically, it's very, very positive. So let's look at some aspects of our lives where we might want to destroy some things. Let's say you're living in a state of fear and poverty, right? This is fine. Don't judge yourself for it. It happens. Sometimes you latch onto ideas that weren't yours and you just accepted them. Like, I don't have enough money, or I have to go to a job 9 to 5 to make the amount of money to pay my bills. That's cool if you thought that, and if you enjoy it, more power to you. That's fucking amazing. But a lot of people have kind of woken up and recognized that this is an illusion, that this is just a game we're playing. So if you don't like the game, get up and play a different game, or learn the rules of the game and then get really good at it and just be like, yeah, this shit fucking is easy. So applying destruction to these aspects of our lives is essential. So I was, during a bunch of readings, I mean, we're really in the death energy, I know, like 3 months ago. I was giving a bunch of readings, and I literally recommended this technique for people. I didn't think I was going to give a technique, but I am. It's kind of like the mirror technique that I gave. You imagine yourself in front of a mirror in your mind's eye. You see your reflection. And the mirror technique is you give yourself qualities that you would want from another or you'd like to embody, and then you embody them, and then you start resonating at that frequency, and then you start emanating that frequency, and that attracts the things that you wanted or desired into your life, and you start to be those things. So if we are recognizing aspects of ourselves that no longer serve us and we want to destroy them, this is a kind of dramatic one, but it's effective. So what you do is you imagine yourself in that mirror, and this is what you do. You kill yourself. You kill yourself. And you should, if you're doing this right, if there's really some energy you're holding on to, you should feel terrified. You should feel as though you are going to die, or the version of you in your mind's eye will react as though you are about to kill it. So that would look like something like this. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. It's just like, imagine trying to kill yourself, like as another person in front of you, that person would be like, please don't kill me. I don't want to go. But if we recognize that that's just a scared version of ourselves, and we're not pushing it away, we're not killing it because we need to get rid of it, we're killing it because it just doesn't need to be there anymore. It doesn't serve us. So this is this element of taking death and destruction are just a part of this world, right? It's just an aspect of this world like everything else. The key here is to harness it in a proper context, right? In the proper way. So there's a lot of energy that comes with death and destruction, right? It's like that death card in the tarot. There's a lot of energy relating to change, relating to all of the things in our lives that, you know, we just kind of take for granted. This stuff tends to sit below our threshold of awareness, and then as it percolates up to the top, we start to experience things. For me, we'll use the stomach thing as an example. I tend to believe, I don't think it's always like this, but by the time something physically manifests in your body and in your world, you've probably ignored a lot of other things, right? A spiritual component of it, a psychological, an emotional. So then your body, which is you, your higher self, is like, all right, you want to do it like this? Then we're going to have to give you a physical symptom. And typically, my reaction when I got physical symptoms is to immediately go on WebMD, figure out what's wrong with me. What did I do wrong? What infection do I have? How am I going to die? Why is it cancer? All of those things. And that has literally never been true. And it's never made me feel better. So I've changed my approach. Now I go, you know what? This is a transmutation taking place. And luckily and thankfully, I have a body that allows me to process this in a way that doesn't kill me, doesn't make it, it's like relatively not that bad, all things considered, but it is focusing my awareness on something. So one of the cool things about destruction and death processes, especially when it comes to physical ailments, is we can get clues as to where, depending on where it is in our body, what it's related to. So one of the, did I really just fucking talk about 8 minutes for this shit? I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. But for the stomach, for instance, right? This is where we process change. This is where we digest new ideas. This is where we don't digest things that aren't supposed to be digested, right? Let's say you're having experiences, and a very weird thing happened to me yesterday as I started really consciously focusing on what was going on. The pains and the stuff started to move. It started going up to my solar plexus, right? So it's telling me there's some connection that's out of whack between the ideas I'm digesting and my heart, right? My feelings. And I bet you'll notice that when you're dealing with, really trying to transmute, destroy, let something die, you're going to have an emotional connection to your physical sensations, right? This is just something that happens. So for me, it became very clear that this is an emotional thing, right? Feelings of sadness, feelings of loneliness, feelings of unworthiness. And you can dive into those and buy into them and live in them for forever if you want to, but that's usually not what we're meant to do. We don't push them away. We don't say, oh, I don't want to feel sad, so sadness is bad. I've learned, especially over the past 8 months, having gone through a lot of emotionally turbulent times, writing them sometimes really well, sometimes writing simple things not well at all, that they're designed. We're putting these things in our lives specifically for the reason to transcend them. And destruction is part of that transmutation and transcendence a lot of the time. So if we can really like harness this like scorpionic death and destruction energy, we're going to feel pretty fucking good about it, because then another piece of this reality has revealed itself, which is there's nothing wrong with death and destruction. There's nothing wrong with shadow stuff. It's actually not something that you deal with just to get over it and, you know, push it away. It serves a critical function in terms of focusing our awareness. So one thing I'll talk about relative to sadness or emotional pain, there's a beauty in it. I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but sometimes when something triggers me, I won't like it per se, but I'll recognize that there's something very beautiful about it, that this whole spectrum of emotions that we get to experience are equally valuable. And I don't talk about this a lot because I typically lean towards a very enthusiastic, bordering on psychotic optimism and feeling good and having fun like the vast majority of my life, but I don't want it to be lost in the shuffle here. People go through emotionally, spiritually, psychologically turbulent times, and we don't want to negate that as something that people go through, because if we do, the tendency to either spiritually bypass or come up with the wrong picture of what's going on, it increases exponentially. And we want to recognize the value of what we may deem negative emotion. Sadness is amazing. Have you ever heard a really sad song when you're feeling sad? That's a great feeling. It's just an amazing feeling. Even if you're like bawling your eyes out, you can usually get to the root of it there just even for a second and be like, whoa, there's something really good about this. Now, we don't want to fall into the trap where sadness is our dominant emotion, but there's value there. You don't want to push away any experience in your life, because then you're cutting yourself off from a really beautiful aspect of being a human being. All right, I think we'll come back to this death and destruction stuff. The world also has to have death and destruction. We look at things and we say, oh, well, how could they? How could there be murder? How could there be this? How could there be devastation? How could there be explosions? How could there be viruses? And we go, this is bad. We should eliminate all of these things. And that's a very altruistic approach. And I think reducing suffering is pretty important as a thing to do as a human being, right? It's what Buddha taught was like the whole fucking point of Buddhism is the alleviation of suffering and the transcending of it. But it's a part of our fucking world. Don't deny it as something. But what we can do, like I said, is latch on to this intense, powerful energy and basically use it to our benefit. Destroy things that no longer serve you. Destroy aspects of your life and personality and psyche that you're just ready to let go. And death is a beautiful process. If you've ever been around a dying person, it's not always beautiful. For every positive story of, you know, transcendence and a peaceful death, there's many where it's a grueling, harrowing, very difficult process to be around and for a person to go through. Not denying that, but it can also be a very beautiful, there's a space that opens up when someone is dying that really cuts through the veil of this world. You recognize how temporary, how fleeting aspects of this reality are, and that's valuable. That's valuable. So don't run away from it. If you're experiencing things right now, as this podcast is being released, beginning of August 2020, we're in the Lionsgate Portal, right? So the Lionsgate Portal is on the 8th day of the 8th month. That would be August 8th. Give or take a few days or even a week, because, you know, the Gregorian calendar is bullshit and it doesn't really do a good job of pinning down dates. Things move. We also know time is expanding. So there's a lot of things that go in here. But generally, around August 8th, we move into what's called the Lionsgate Portal. And it gets this name because it's in the zodiac sign of Leo, the lion. And what this is related to is the three stars of Orion's belt line up with the three pyramids in Giza. And what this is from a metaphysical standpoint is it really has a lot to do with Sirius as well. And Sirius is known as the spiritual sun, right? It's actually 40 times stronger than the sun, but it's farther away, so we perceive it as a star. It's the brightest star in the sky that we can see with the naked eye, and it's known as our spiritual sun. So as the sun feeds this physical world, it leads to growth. It leads to all the things we know. Without the sun, this world wouldn't exist. The spiritual sun, Sirius, also is really focused on the connection, but predominantly our spiritual body. So this is a time where you really can connect with your higher self. And I know we're getting pretty woo here. It's going to be a little bit of a woo episode, but really this is like your higher self, the veil between what you experience as your 3D kind of earthly person life and your highest, most perfect version of yourself. There's a portal opens up and you can feel and connect to that. So this could be a lot of ancestral stuff. This could be a lot of stuff in terms of processing things that, you've maybe accumulated over many lives or this life that no longer serve you. So this is a potent opportunity to really, 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 really delve into what's important in your life, what's working and what's not working. So the gods connected, the Egyptian gods connected to the star Sirius are Isis and Anubis. Isis, we've spoken about a lot, this feminine energy, the unifier, the bringer together. She was kind of like the meadow proto-god in Egypt. She, everything was labeled Isis, a big worshiping thing. Very positive feminine energy. The other god is Anubis. This is Lord of the Underworld, right? This is where this death and destruction, and they're intrinsically linked because we have, as we go through this spiritual ascension, as we kind of wake up to the broader aspects of who we are, we also recognize that there's a duality there, right? We're going to be letting things go. As you change into your ultimate form, so to speak, you're going to be letting aspects of yourself that aren't there to serve you and aren't helping you, you're going to be letting those go. So if you notice a lot of strong emotions coming up this week or in the coming weeks, embrace them, delve into them. The worst thing you can do in these situations is run away. I give this example a lot. If you're having a dream, and this world is a dream, let's not forget that, and a monster is chasing you, the worst thing you can do is just keep running away from the monster. It gets scarier and bigger, and it just dominates you. The best thing to do is turn around and face it. 9 times out of 10, when you turn around and face, except in Stranger Things, right? In Stranger Things, they did this and the thing fucking fucked the kid up. But 99 times out of 100, when you turn around and face your issues, you'll realize, A, they're self-created. B, this thing you thought was a monster usually isn't a monster. It's something much less menacing. It's just some aspect of yourself that you didn't want to face. And this is something that we really want to embrace as we move into this Lionsgate Portal, where we really have this ability to see who we are on like the deepest level. And once you see who you are, this is very akin to the imaginal techniques, you have a reference point. You say, holy shit, that's who I actually am. This is really who I am. Even if all the evidence in your external reality is saying, no, that's not who I am, you get a glimpse of it, you know that's who you are. You just got to latch onto it and accept it. Had a lot of readings this past week where people were going through some serious stuff related to health issues, related to kind of stagnation. And it's amazing in like a 20-30 minute call how when you just show people that they're running their own shit, that these patterns that they've been in are not externally created, that they're internally created, and they're allowing them to flow into their life, just by merely pointing it out and showing them that they have access to a feeling, they can transcend this stuff fucking 20-30 minutes. And you really feel it. I tell everyone who gets on a reading, I'm like, you should feel a substantial energetic shift by the end of it. And it's never not happened. And the reason it happens is you just need a glimpse. You just need to know there's a possibility of feeling better before you can actually latch on to it. But a lot of people don't get to that point because they get stuck in these states of consciousness that feel so heavy and feel so real, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, psychological, and they just stay in them because they think this is what they're supposed to do. This is just how it is. And that's unfortunate because it's not true. We always have the power to dictate how our reality goes. It's up to us to recognize the lessons we're continuously sending ourselves. So don't buck against the shit that feels bad because that will perpetuate the situation. Okay. You either illuminate or darken your world by the ideas to which you consent. This is a really important thing. So this is really Isis and Anubis energy again. The ideas to which you consent, let's talk about this. If you have an idea and you think the world is a fucked up place full of evil people, who are out to get you, your world will reflect that back to you over and over and over again. This is why when I get on Twitter, a lot of people, you'll see complaining about how horrible things are. This is bad. This is horrible. This is awful. This is the shit. And it's not that we don't want to be aware of things that aren't working. Of course we do. We don't stick our heads in the sand and go, oh, there's nothing wrong going on anywhere. We have an awareness that this stuff is going on. But if you continuously engage in theories or circumstances or people who darken your world will become dark. It's that simple. I bring this up a lot when we're talking about the imaginal technique stuff. This is a neutral law. Your consciousness creating reality, you having the joystick of the video game of life. There's nothing that says like you have to like be loving and have a good time and make things awesome at all. Over time, it may bend towards that, but there's nothing that says you have to do that. So people be like, I feel like I've been doing this, but like I see other people, do they have those same abilities? Everyone is doing this all of the time. It's never not happening. But if you don't know that you're doing it, guess what? It's going to be fucking rocky as shit. Can you imagine? Like, you just don't know that you're creating your entire reality. Like, what are the things that can happen there? You can get a lot of fucking wonky shit going on. So just recognize the ideas to which you consent, they either illuminate or darken your world. So be very careful about what ideas, people, situations, circumstances you're engaging with. I'll give the one note about spiritually bypassing. You don't want to live in this delusional state of everything is great all of the time. That's not accurate. Have you been alive? Have you recognized ebb and flow? I'm like the Chandler Bing of fucking spirituality. Have you been alive? Basically, just pay attention to the thoughts that you're entertaining because they really do shape your world. And if you say, well, you know what? My world is shitty and I'm having positive thoughts. Are you? Are you sure? Are they really positive? Or after you say something like, I live in an endless state of abundance, are you doubting it right after? And don't judge yourself if you're doubting it. It's not a big deal. Everyone does it. It's called pressure testing your reality. You don't want to know that consciousness creates your entire reality until you're really prepared for the responsibility and weird shit that happens afterwards. And don't get impatient with it. Impatience just breeds delays. Okay. Surround yourself with things that make you mad. Focus on all the bad things in the world. Get enraged by people whose opinions differ from yours. These are the keys to success if you're a dingus. And this was a popular tweet I put out this week. Like it's a fucking album or something. I tweeted out something. And people really engage with it because it sounds so dumb to focus on the things that make you mad, surrounding yourself with the bad things, getting enraged by people whose opinions differ from yours. It's like, of course I don't want to do that, but how many of us do that? I fall prey to that on a regular basis. I'm actually very grateful for Twitter and following some people who I think exhibit this behavior because my tendency when I see it is to judge them and go, you fucking idiot, what are you doing? Why are you focused on that? And then I go, oh no, I'm doing it. I just fell into the same trap. So constantly being able to see things that would otherwise make you mad or focusing on things and not get triggered by them, that's a fucking skill. That's like pro level realitying. Realitying? Yeah, we'll go with that as a term. But just be aware of what you're putting in front of your face. A lot of people think it's bad to distance yourself from people who are constantly focusing on negative shit. That's not right. You should be able to go into these situations and have an open heart and feel good. Great. When you get there, when you get to the point that you can do that, but a lot of people have no experience with being able to maintain their own sense of equilibrium. So when they get around people who aren't balanced, they become unbalanced. If you're like me, I'm a reflector. All right, here, let me give you an example. I pick up on people's energy even when I have no fucking outside evidence that something is going on. A really good example of this, Denise is an amazing person. Many people love her. Many people want to be with her. And I don't blame them. It's fucking great. It's the best thing ever. But people fucking skis. They skis, sometimes they skis. And I pick up on that energy because I'm fucking empathic as a motherfucker. And it affects me. And I feel it and I get all weird and moody for a second. And then she has to like come to me hours later and be like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm bothered by this. But what I found when I pick up on other people's energy directed at her because I have a strong connection with her, I then start to reflect those people's energy. And this is I don't want to give a cop out and say it has nothing to do with me. It clearly does. They're in my life. They're part of me. I am them. But I can feel other people's energy and recognize thoughts and emotions that are not mine. Like just weird, aggressive, kind of like machismo ways of thinking and ego stuff. It's not really my main vibe. I definitely fall into it sometimes. No one would accuse me of not having a big ego plenty of times, but I know what my thoughts and kind of train of thought feels like. And this is a skill that we develop. So I've begun to look at these situations not as some fucking fatal flaw or chink in my armor where I have to be affected by other people's energy, but as a practice. There's like a school. It's like I get to learn what other people's energy feels like and which ones I want to engage with and which ones I want to let in and process through me. Because sometimes, it's great to think we would just love to alleviate everyone's suffering. But do you know what happens when you actually make that commitment? You got to experience some of their suffering sometimes. And it doesn't mean it's going to be bad, but it means you're taking on that energy. So just be aware that at any given time, you may be reflecting back energy, especially if you're an open person, that is not really going to help you. It's not really going to be something that is going to allow you to, move through life gracefully. So I know there's a lot of empaths who listen to this show. It's probably one of the dominant resonant frequencies that I emanate. So if you find yourself in situations where you're reflecting other people's energy, just recognize you're probably doing it for a reason. You're probably doing it to transcend some very deep aspect of your personality, maybe shame, maybe trauma, something like that. But don't get caught up in it. Do not get caught up and think that something is being done to you. Okay? Nothing is ever done to you. You do it to yourself, and you're doing it for reasons because you're smart and you're cool. Okay? Become aware at any moment of time of your fulfilled desire. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and learn to become intensely aware of the state fulfilled, that you may look upon your world and describe it relative to your fulfilled desire. Learn then to sustain that mood. This is a Neville Goddard thing, in case you couldn't tell. So what he's saying here is this idea of just being aware of what it would feel like if your desire, if your wish had come true. What does it feel like? Become so aware of that feeling that you look upon your world with that feeling in your imagination and describe it. What would it look like if that feeling was true? What are people saying to you? Where are you? What are you doing? How do you feel? That's your foot in the door. Once you get your foot in the door, just learn how to sustain that mood. And you say, well, how do I learn how to sustain that mood? I don't know. Get comfortable with it. Love it. Like fall in love with that version of yourself in that world. Literally everything in reality will then begin to conspire to make it happen. Okay? I like to focus on meta states. I like to focus on bliss, ecstasy, love, fulfillment, harmony, joy, because they tend to encompass all of these other states that we experience or specific actions or outcomes. They include them. You know what you want. You don't have to be like a fucking weird, meticulous, like nerd about it and write down literally every single thing that you want. You can. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with scripting your life sometimes. But if you focus on these broader feelings, guess what you can't feel when you're in a state of ecstasy? Shitty. It's impossible. As soon as you start to feel shitty, you are not in ecstasy. So if you set these large-scale emotional feelings, they tend to work out in ways you can't expect. And this goes into, I think I spoke about it a little bit in the last episode, there is this idea, I think it's an overcompensation from feminine energy sometimes that, you're going to kill the mystery. If this is really how reality works and you can get whatever you want and you can summon forth the most magical experiences, you're going to kill the mystery of what's going on. That's not actually true. It's never true. If that were true, we'd be dead because it's endlessly mysterious to realize what's going on. Okay, Denise walked in and I paused it. I can't talk about this shit in front of other people. I sound like a lunatic. When I'm the solo cast, I have to do by myself because, God, this is the equivalent of hearing like a crazy person talk on the street. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. I have no fucking idea. Basically, the point is this: sustain your mood once you encounter the feeling that you would like to feel. This is actually how reality works. That's I can't say it any more simply than that. Okay. Another Neville Goddard thing. You can move into many states and play many parts, but as the actor, you do not change your identity. When you are rich, you are the same actor as when you are poor. These are only different parts you are playing, right? So try to understand that you are always you. You're the actor playing different roles, moving through different states of consciousness. You never change who you are at your fundamental core. Who that is a limitless being of endless compassion and power. That's really who you are at your deepest core. You're so powerful that you have forgotten and convinced yourself that you don't have these powers. This is the classic Hanuman story, right? Hanuman is the monkey god in Vedic scriptures, and the what was he in? The Jesus Christ, how am I for Ramayana? He was this monkey who had like the power to do basically whatever, turn as big as he want, get as small as he want, fly as far as he can, basically do anything. And one day he fucked with the sun, and the sun was like, you fucking dick. Why you fuck with me? I'm going to make you a monkey now who forgot that he's omnipotent. And the whole story of Hanuman is him remembering in service of love, in service of Rama, his lord, that he could do whatever he wanted. This is the classic myth of who we are. You have unlimited power and potential. If you forget it, that's okay. That's fun. That's how powerful you are. You can even make yourself forget this incredibly awesome shit. But this power never goes away. We can just run it unconsciously, which can create a lot of friction and tension in our life, which the function of that friction and tension, again, is to wake you up to what the fuck is going on so you can focus your attention and your consciousness towards the things you actually want to experience. The worst feeling I've experienced in life is powerlessness, is when you feel like you have no power. That's when fear starts to come in. That's when doubt starts to come in. That's when feeling like you can't do the things you want to do comes in. And that's a very binding and constrictive state to live in. It's like, I don't know, I don't want to shit on like an actual state in the United States because I'm sure there's listeners from there. But let's say you live in a shitty state in the United States. It's like living there. Should we say Florida? Florida has nice stuff too. Florida's just like, what do you do? I don't even want to get into it. But, let's say you live in a really shitty part of Florida and you're like, I don't want to live here anymore. It fucking sucks. But you don't know that you have the ability to move. You haven't figured out that you can be like, fuck this. I'm leaving. I'm getting on a bus. I'm going somewhere else. I'm hitchhiking out of here. So you feel like you're stuck there forever. What a shitty feeling. That's what we do often when we feel that we're in a state of poverty or depression or something that's just like hateful or insecurity. We get to these points and we're like, what the fuck? I really just don't want to be here, but I don't have any influence of that. I don't have any control of that. How the fuck am I going to do this? How am I going to get out of this? It's impossible. It's not. It never is. And the beauty of it is that we literally, all we have to do is feel ourselves out of the situation. Learn to adjust your senses to what you desire to be. Just as I moved to New York City, this is Neville Goddard speaking, you can move into the state of wealth, fame, or any state you desire. Determine what it would feel like and adjust your thinking by assuming you are feeling it now. Okay. A lot of people have a negative connotation with the word assumption and assuming. I think I mentioned this in the last episode. People are like, to assume makes an ass out of you and me. Wrong. Literally assuming is the best thing you can ever do. When you assume a state of consciousness, you quite literally step into it and then it starts to happen. The first thing that will happen if you haven't done this before, typically, is reality is going to get real weird. Shit will probably seem like it's going very wrong. And this harkens back to this death and destruction energy. Right? This is this energy of, what the fuck is happening? My world is exploding. Think of like the Beirut explosion. That's basically what you do to your world when you swiftly move into this. Now, some people are a little more gentle than me, and they'll kind of like, tease out what they want, not go for it too quickly. If you're like me, I like to quantum leap. I like to jump really fucking fast into new states of consciousness, new experiences. Anyone who knows me knows that very well. I can be quite intimidating to some people because of which the rapidity and speed I move through states of consciousness. And here's the other thing I'll say about this. Like, when you really step into this role of using your own imagination or feelings to really like outpicture what you feel into the world, you're gonna get pushback. This is not a dominant way of viewing the world yet. It is not. In fact, it is still a very small percentage of people who fully understand this and embody this and stay in this, sustain this knowledge and wisdom for the majority of their lives. So guess what happens when you start fucking resonating at an incredibly high frequency? Guess what happens? No, guess what happens? People don't like it. And this isn't bad. This is you pressure testing your reality again through other people, but you're not going to get immediate confirmation from other people in your life that this is a wise move. I experienced this firsthand when I left my marriage. Well, I had 2 small kids. A baby was just born. Do you know how fucking bad that looks objectively? Just like, really. It's not hard to think I'm a shitty person when you look at the circumstances I made. What people couldn't see is I made a calculation and felt deeply in my soul that this was the right move, and also looked at, like, if this situation were to perpetuate, this would have harmed me, my ex-wife, my kids. It would have been bad. It would have been bad vibes for everyone, right? So there's things that are going on that you have to make the internal conviction and have the internal conviction and confidence that the decisions you're making, no matter how fucking crazy they may seem, are actually right. Also, be honest with yourself. Sometimes we have a notion or an idea and we think it's right, but there's a little part of us that's like, I don't know. Is that really right? Or you maybe just spiritually bypassing? Or are you doing something so you don't have to deal with shadow work? Don't disregard those, because everything will keep coming back to you. It's cyclical, right? The same experiences, the same situations will continue to come back into your life until you're ready to transcend them. So don't get frustrated by that. Be honest with yourself. It's super important. The best thing you can do is be honest with yourself, because when you're honest with yourself, you'll inevitably be honest with other people. Because here's something I realized when I was younger. I was a lying little shit. I used to lie when I was a kid. You know, I thought I was getting one over on people. I thought it was an effective way of navigating the world. But the truth is, it takes so much more effort to be dishonest than it does to be honest and authentic. It's like you're running all these extra personas and programs and scripts on top of yourself. That's just not even, it's just not worth it. It's not even if you got everything you wanted, the amount of energy you're expending relative to just like being your authentic version of yourself, it's just like, it's like a shitty equation. Don't choose the side of it where you have to be a shithead to get what you want. That's why when I look at people who do objectively bad things, just like inelegant, unskillful ways of achieving things, I don't really dislike or hate them anymore. I'm just like, oh, they don't know how to do math. Like, they haven't figured out that that's just like a shitty equation, that the program that they're running is just like, it's not good. That's a much better way to look at people who bother you than thinking that, like, this motherfucker, this piece of shit done fucked up my life and everyone else. I don't know why I made them a southern hick, but they are in this example. But just look at people not understanding, which is much easier to have compassion in a real sense without it being like this fucking, can we talk about this notion of compassion, of like putting yourself on a pedestal so you have to have compassion for people who don't get it? No, it's not because you're better than them. It's just because maybe you figured something else out that they are having a little bit hard time with. If that was true and you really knew that, you wouldn't be a dick towards them. You wouldn't say, oh, these fuckers, so stupid, they don't get it. Why don't they get it? It's just not right. Also, going back to this death and destruction stuff, if you are Arsenal energy, as Jessa puts it, if you are here to kind of burn down old systems, like, that's cool. That's great. I think everyone needs that. I think everyone has aspects of that in their personality. And if that's your dominant one, wonderful. But just be real mindful of externalizing internal processes, right? If you look out in the world and you see a racist and you just cannot get over this person's racism or horribleness, or just, they're so bad, that ain't their problem anymore. That's your problem. And the chances are you exhibit some of this behavior, whether overtly or covertly, and you ain't dealing with it. It's really hard to be triggered by things that you have not dealt with before. Sometimes you've transcended them and you've dealt with it and you can still get triggered, but if you really can't get out of it, there's something going on internally. A lot of this episode, I think I'm just going to be constantly reminding you that it's on the inside. It's not on the outside ever. It's on the inside. So your ability to be triggered and bothered by things has less to do with the external circumstances and more to do with the energy that's coming into your life. Now, if you see someone do something just like truly horrible in front of you, it doesn't mean you go, well, I'm a horrible person and that's why I'm seeing it. It's just like try to figure out what the lesson being presented to you is. But a lot of the times when we're emotionally hooked by things, it's because we either desire to exhibit that behavior or refuse to exhibit that behavior or are judging ourselves for even having an impulse to exhibit that behavior. Own your fucking shadow. Also, like, own that you can be a shitty person, too. There's nothing wrong with that if you acknowledge it. If you don't acknowledge it, guess what? You're probably going to turn into a shittier and shittier person. So just acknowledge it. No big deal. Look at your world mentally. Your present level of objective fact may be the same as it was before, but in your imagination, hear your friends congratulate you on your good fortune. Then believe in the reality of this unseen experience. Tomorrow, the world will begin to change to make room for the garment of your assumption. If it takes one person or 10,000 to aid the birth of your assumption, they will come. You will not need their consent or permission because the world is dead. And what would be the purpose in asking dead people to help you? Simply know what you want, animate the scene, and those playing their parts will begin to move towards the fulfillment of your desire. All right, let's talk about this. One of my favorite things that Neville Goddard talks about is the world being dead. I don't say this to everyone all of the time. I probably drop this like every 20th episode. The world is in fact dead. This world is, whether you want to call it a hologram or a simulation or a video game or whatever, it be dead, friends. Everything has already happened. Everything that will happen has already happened and will continue to happen. So is that scary? Is that terrifying? What does that mean? Are these zombies walking around? Kinda, but what they really are is reflections of you. You are quite literally everything and animating your entire world, including me. Great job. Great job. I'm pretty fucking cool. Good job for summoning me, Mr. Dead Noah, into your life. Now, I don't know that Neville Goddard is totally right on this. I ask dead people or people who are no longer living in this realm to help me all of the time, and they do. But what he's really saying here is like, you don't need to go get permission from somewhere out in the world. You don't say, oh, I want money. Please, sir, will you give me money? Please, ma'am, will you give... I don't know why I'm going in the hick accent today. It's just it's where I'm at. Will you give me money, please? Will you please give me money? No, you fucking say, I got money. Embrace abundant joy. Do you know what it feels like to have everything? Let me tell you something that comes up when you feel like you have everything. This is the first thing that should come up. You feel like you can give anything you want to anyone you want whenever you want. Because you have everything. It doesn't diminish what you have by giving to another person. A cool law of abundance is as you give, you get more. This doesn't mean to embody this weird martyr-like state of like, let me just give everything away I have because then I'll get more. That's like, it's like the Jewish act of a mitzvah, right? A mitzvah is an act of kindness. But if you're doing the act of kindness to get something in return, that's not an act of kindness. But when you really get that you have fucking everything, literally everything, you will naturally feel that you can give anything and everything. That goes to, monetary things, financial, emotional support. Like people who can't provide emotional support, it's just because they feel like they can't even do it for themselves. So don't condemn them for that. Don't say you're a bad person because you can't provide emotional support. It's because they don't feel like they have enough to give away. That's all. But when you feel like you have everything, you have endless energy. Truthfully, you can do whatever you want whenever you want. You don't need to ask for permission from anyone. Do not blame another for the events in your life. There is no one you can turn to as its cause, and don't let anyone blame you as they are creating their own world by what they are imagining. The law operates by faith. If you believe, no effort is necessary to see the fulfillment of your every desire. This is the whole thing. This is why people can look at the shit I'm saying and say, oh my God, you changed my entire life. My life has been this magical journey since I found this stuff. Thank you so much. And then I say, you've been doing it all along. Great. Or people can look at it and say, oh, Noah's just a huckster now. He's just an asshole. He's peddling some optimistic pie in the sky type dream that definitely doesn't work. And both are accurate, right? If you believe this is bullshit, it's bullshit. If you believe that it's the best, coolest thing in the fucking world, it's the most magical, amazing thing, it's that. That's literally how everything works. So the game here, as I see it, is loosening the shackles of our mind, getting into the state of consciousness where we are open-minded about everything, also willing to throw anything and everything out the window if it no longer supports this main idea that our consciousness creates reality. Even that idea can be disregarded for a little bit. Don't stubbornly hold on to something because it's what you think all the time. Always be willing to disregard anything at any point in your life, because that's just a healthy way of being. If you rigidly hold on to something, the chances of that giving you diminishing returns is pretty high. It's not like we hold the reins loosely. Think of the Chariot card in the tarot. Hold the reins loosely to harness the power of duality. And we're in duality. It's pretty fucking cool. I love it. It's great. So just don't blame other people for shit that's going on in your life. If you do, you're just being a baby. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's totally tempting to do that, especially given like a socioeconomic or racial situation. I'm not denying. Let's use a really potent example. They'll put a trigger warning on this one because it's really fucking important, and it's really fucked up that this happens, but there's also a key for getting around it. In the United States, the mortality rate for just black mothers is like 30% higher than white women, right? Black women are traditionally not trusted when they say there's something wrong with them. They are not listened to. They are disregarded, and it's super fucked up. It's undeniable. It's a statistical fact. You know how I feel about facts, but it's something that's happening, and to disregard it and not pay attention to it and say it's not happening is naive and foolhardy. That said, let's say you are a black woman and you are pregnant or you are anticipating having a kid. You don't you don't blame the system for being shitty. You don't say, hey, well, this is a fucked up system. You don't say, oh, well, I'm going to have a shitty experience because black women are treated. I don't know why. This is where we jump the shark, right? Where a straight white guy is preaching to black women about what they should do. Really, is that the definition of privilege? But it works, and I know you'll hear that for the people who need to hear it. What it means is when you go into the hospital or you go in a place or you have a medical problem, you don't blame a system for fucking your shit up. You say, you know what? I'm going to have a perfect experience, and people are going to listen to me. No matter what the statistics say, no matter what happens, I know that this is a perfect situation, and my birth is going to be amazing, and it's going to be perfect, and everything else is going on. Don't wait for the system to change. Don't wait for other people to recognize that there's injustices going on in the world. Take control of your life first and foremost. Then once you scale up that initial mountain, whether it's being a black woman who's disregarded, whether it's being, someone who's in poverty, who just can't get a break and, who's consistently thwarted at every turn, don't wait for other people to change. You're going to be waiting forever. But when you say, you know what? I'm fucking in charge of my life. And my consciousness, my imagination really is the only operative mechanism. When you employ that and believe that and stabilize it, you're going to be sitting pretty. And then, guess what? Then those systems that exist that de-emphasize the feelings and thoughts and real things that are going on for black women or poor people, right? Then you can start imagining those grander and bigger things because you've really become familiar with this operative power, and you go, oh. If this works for me, and my consciousness really is the only thing in the world, right? This is why I'm so fucking delusionally optimistic and keep talking about being on the best timeline, because I don't fucking forget it. But when you really get this stuff, you go, oh, well, if it works for me, could I imagine for other people that something wonderful would happen? Could I imagine that an entire system would change? You have to build up the muscle strength, the imaginal muscle strength to get to those points. Like, I personally am not at a point where I'm imagining world peace for everyone actively. It's too inconceivable for me right now to imagine in any real near-term future that we're going to be living in a utopian society. When I say near-term, I say like 5 years, right? I know I'm honest with myself and know that, yes, I believe that's an inevitable outcome. But I know when I start to try to imagine broader and bigger things where I need to jump off. And there's no shame in that. The first step is to stabilize your own experience. This is the reason I bring up the black women in hospitals and with medical issues is it's very easy to read an article and see statistical facts that are true. I'm not like Ben Shapiro here trying to modulate fucking facts to like fit my narrative. I'm just saying it's true. This is a real thing. But if that subconsciously gets implanted into your psyche and you find yourself in a medical situation, you may start believing that people aren't going to listen to me. No one's going to pay attention to me. My feelings aren't valid, right? That then perpetuates and creates that situation. So it's not that we take these things and disregard them. It's just that we go, okay, this is something that's going on. I'm going to choose a different path. I will give the analogy of me getting to Turkey in the middle of a pandemic. Logic says literally every country except 4 countries in the world are closed. Logic says I should not be here right now. My friends didn't think I was going to get here. My family didn't think I was going to get here. There were parts of me where I was like, am I really going to get there? But I got here. There is nothing logical about me being where I am right now. I just chose to disregard the aspects of reality that says you can't have this. This is impossible. Not going to happen. And I said, fuck that. It absolutely is going to happen. I know how reality works. I know how things work. So my experience is atypical relative to other people's. If you track this back, if you track this forward, you begin to realize the sheer power of what we're dealing with. You can transcend states of health or unhealth. You can transcend states of poverty, right? You can transcend states of depression, unhappiness, feeling, and when I say transcend like states of depression and unhappiness, I don't mean you'll never be depressed or unhappy again. It just means you'll understand what their function are. You'll understand when you get lonely or sad, it's not a bad thing. You're not doing something wrong. This is just there to show you that, like, hey, this is an aspect of life. You know, where do you need to tighten up? Where do you need to focus? What's the proper perspective on this? And then you'll notice that probably the experiences of feeling depressed or lonely or bad things happen to you go down way low. But when they do happen, you have a newfound appreciation for them. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine being appreciative for difficult experiences while you're going through them? Not after, but while you're going through them? Oh, man. It's really helpful. It's really great. I highly recommend it. Do that. Just remember the only operative power here is your faith, loyalty to the unseen world, right? The thing you don't sensorily experience. If you're constantly relying on that, oh, it's so difficult. It's so hard. It's like, oh my God, like you're going to be chasing your tail forever. It's like the constant Ouroboros energy, but never quite getting it, right? Just know that whatever you believe is true. Does that sound wrong? Do you believe that if pigs fly, they're going to fly? They're going to fly. Maybe not in this dimension, maybe not in the timeline where you stay alive, but they will fly, right? Just understand that that's literally how things work. Do I recommend jumping off buildings to prove gravity doesn't exist? No. Okay. Do I recommend, well, I was going to say, do I recommend eating like shit to prove that, diets don't really exist? But I did that. The McDonald's thing. Also, can we talk about how, like, I don't get a stomach? Like, I was eating McDonald's so much, and I'm like, good, rock hard. I come to Turkey. Oh, man, I was eating so much food. I don't know what happened. I know it's, like, an emotional thing, too. Like, that's how crazy I am. Like, I almost disregard that this could any way be related to something I ate or drank. I'm just like, no, it's unprocessed emotion, man. That's all it is. I'm insufferable. Okay. Here's a few things, and then I cannot believe I've spoken for 53 minutes. What in the fucking fuck? Also, Q&A for patrons is coming. I'll record that in a couple of days. A lot of good questions coming in. So that's going on. That's on the Patreon. Yeah. I'm taking all my friends with me, and everyone is my friend. Do you understand that we're on the best timeline? We're on the best timeline. Is everyone on the best timeline? I think so. Is everyone aware they're on the best timeline? Probably not. Your life might not be going exactly how you want it right now, but I know that if my life is the best, and this is how things work, for real, that means everyone's life is the best. Because what I imagine, my rude imagination, is that everyone gets this and understands it. That's it. It's that easy. So I'm taking everyone with me. Just, it's fun. It's fun. That's the only way I can say it. I don't even get big-headed about it anymore. It's just like, this is fun. Have you realized you're living in an endless state of prosperity and abundance yet? Just have you realized it? That's all. I'm not saying like, would you like to? Would that be a nice thing? Just have you realized it yet? Because if you haven't, that's okay. Just you will realize it. Think about it. Really. Do you know what it would feel like to literally be endlessly abundant and prosperous? What would you do? What would you be saying? What would you be feeling? That's it. Got it. Know that you and everyone you have ever known or will ever know is blessed. And watch what happens next. Do you understand that? Everyone. Doesn't mean everyone except Donald Trump. Doesn't mean everyone except Hitler. Doesn't mean everyone is blessed. Everyone is playing a role. When you really understand that, watch what starts happening in your life. You will start to experience miracles and blessings and abundance and joy that you didn't know was possible. It's just what happens, right? So just try to understand and know that as much as possible. It's really helpful. Be grateful for your enemies and trigger people too. This is an aside. Just be super grateful for them. When you can do that, not in like a chumpo way. Like, I don't like, we spoke about this on the Very Ape podcast, the most recent episode. Don't be no chump. Don't be no chump. Don't let yourself get walked over because you're supposed to be compassionate and recognize everyone is great and they're so good. Don't be a chumpo. Don't take people's bullshit either. I want to be clear about that. This isn't a passive state of being. When you get this, you're omnipotent. You're God. You're everything. God ain't no bitch. You understand what I'm saying? God ain't no bitch. Quote me on that. I love you so much is something you'll find yourself saying over and over when you really get this. And it may be directed at another. It may be directed at yourself. It may be directed at a higher power. But you will compulsively hear yourself saying authentically, I love you so much. Like, what the fuck? I didn't know it was possible to love this much. I love you. You'll just say it. You'll also hear it a lot. You'll really start to hear it a lot from people, right? You'll start to hear it. I promise. So that's fun. You are always and continuously supported by an unconditional love that transcends every known concept. So don't forget that. It's not worth forgetting that. You're literally always and continuously supported by an unconditional love that transcends every known concept, right? You can't even consciously really understand it, but just know that it's true. That's a pretty good belief to believe in. What's the alternative? You're not? Shit's not like that. Shit sucks. Everything's no good. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. Think I'm going to do the math on that one and go with the unconditional love supporting everything. Just my own preference. Have you realized you're always on the right track yet? Sometimes you may feel like you ever go all, like play Mario Kart and go off the wrong, like you just get on the fucking, especially the old Super Nintendo one where you fucking go on like the rock stuff. And it's like, and you start going all slow and you're like, oh, no. You're still on the right track when you do that. Maybe it wasn't your place to get first place right there. Maybe that's what you weren't supposed to do. Recognize you're always getting first place in terms of what you're supposed to be doing though. But you're always on the right track. You will always learn something from being on what feels like the wrong track. You're doing it perfectly. You're never not doing it perfectly. Even what feels like you fucking up, you did it perfectly. And when you really understand that you're getting this is you'll look back at experiences of your life where people might say, wow, I bet that you wish that didn't happen. You wasted some time there. No, I did. What? No, I feel like that was perfect. That's incredible. It's fucking great. That's when you really feel like that. It's wonderful. Feel grateful for what's yours, but you haven't experienced yet in this 4D, 3D reality, and witness it flow into your life with unprecedented speed and harmony. Get that? That's like a real trick. You know when you're really living from the end? When you're grateful for it. When you go, oh my God, that's so fucking cool. I'm so grateful for having that, for getting that, for feeling that. You can't feel gratitude for that which you don't have. The good news is you have everything. So you should feel grateful for everything, but like really specifically feel grateful for what's yours, but you haven't experienced yet. And then it'll just flow into your life and be like, what? Really? This is how it works? This can't be right. This can't be right. There's a reason this podcast has, grown in popularity to the extent that it has and remained under the radar to the extent that it has. This is like some fucking powerful level shit. Right? I really I've seen it work now in my life over and over and over. And then you just accept it and then you get it, right? It's It's the most powerful thing I've ever found. And I'm like pretty into powerful shit. I like it. It's cool. Those things are fun. So just be grateful for what you haven't experienced yet and witness it flow into your life. And if you look out in the world and you look at people who have things that are amazing and you'd like them, they did that. They might not know that they did it, but they did that. Am I saying the experience can't happen where you just get something unexpectedly and you're like, whoa, I'm so grateful after the fact? Of course it can. But even that can be something you're grateful for, right? Grateful for the mystery, grateful for the weirdness, grateful for the things that you didn't understand until they happened to you. Just be grateful for those. There's always a way to get behind it. It's called cosmic dexterity. That's all you're doing. You're getting super flexible, dexterous cosmically. That's what we're doing. We're really we're getting galactic here, guys. Put your fucking soul on the line, too. Put it on the fucking line. Do you know how fucking badass that is? Put it all on the line. Live the way you speak. Don't talk about this shit. Do this shit. It would be very easy for me to come up here. There's a lot of people who do this. They talk the game of how this helps them, about that helps them, about blah, 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 and then it's not actually doing it for them. That sucks. That's the when you do something inauthentically, no good. But put your fucking soul on the line. Put the whole thing. The good news is you can't fucking lose, but you still got to act like you can. You still got to act like you can. It's fun. Did I mention yet that there was a Muslim? The first day I got into Istanbul, we went to go get spices for my mom, who wants these special Turkish spices. And there was a Muslim woman. There's a lot of Muslim people in Turkey, by the way. There's prayers 5 times a day if you're in a city or anywhere around there. And there's this woman, and she was wearing a shirt that just said, "My vibes are better." I may have mentioned that, but I just love that. I don't think she even knew what it said. It was just like, "My vibes are better." That's really good. I love it. Anyway, it's not easy being amazing. Just kidding. It's super easy. It's so fucking easy. You just imagine yourself as amazing, and then amazing things happen. Do you know what it feels like? Here, I'll give an example with guitar for me. I was like, you know what? I've been playing the same chords. I kind of get stuck in these ruts of where I'm playing the same shit over and over again. And yeah, I'm getting better and more dexterous for that specific thing. But I was like, you know what? I just want some new chords in my life. I just want to be able to play some new chords. And anyone who's played an instrument or been a human being knows what it's like to kind of get stuck in a rut, right? I was like, you know what? Let me try this shit. Let me just imagine that I know some new chords. Let me just imagine that I can freeform play and learn things on my own. Let me just do that. So I did it, forgot about it. And then, months ago when I was in Laurel Canyon, it just started happening. And then I was like, what? How is this possible? And then you realize the function for you even getting in that rut and playing those chords over and over again is for you to fully appreciate when you get out of it. People are like, I'm in this, I can't get a good relationship. I just can't find the person who makes me feel the way I want to feel. I can't do it. Let's not even talk about how they're summoning that into the reality when they're saying that. But when they get that and it really starts to happen, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm so appreciative and grateful for this. I know what the opposite feels like, so I certainly know how big of a deal this is. That's why you have shit that happens in your life that feels dissonant. It's the speed and rapidity that you move through those dissonant energies that determine kind of your overall conception of what's going on. If you spend years in a dissonant state, the tendency to get stuck in it increases. If you move through dissonant states in a matter of days, hours, minutes, seconds, yes, that is the vibe. That is the vibe that we're doing. Okay. Somehow, I've rambled for an hour and 3 minutes. I feel like I gathered steam somewhere around the 20, 30-minute mark. That's cool. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. These guys, the Lionsgate stuff is really awesome. This is an opportunity to step into your highest potential. The veil is very thin right now. I highly recommend doing that. You'll feel better. Get in all of the information and fucking beautiful, what are they called? Light codes, downloads. Get them in. Don't even worry about integrating yet. They'll come in, then you'll integrate later. Just get them in. It's going to feel good. Digest the new stuff. My stomach has felt fine this entire episode, by the way. What does that tell you? Fucking weird. Very interesting. Anyway, this has been great for me. I hope it has for you too. Patreon is the best place to go deeper with Synchronicity. That is my favorite place right now. The Discord server, there's a ton of crypto stuff going on over there. For people who want a sampling of what CryptoSync, the Discord server that you get access to by becoming a patron, is like, on Instagram, on my IGTV, I posted a cryptocurrency primer video where I did a Q&A with people who had questions. We'll do another one of those. I think you can account for at least 1-2 Instagram Q&As a month. I do the more specific targeted ones for recorded episodes on Patreon. Let's get that shit up there. Can you imagine with me that this just becomes an even bigger and more thriving community? It's cool people connecting in a lot of different ways. We have the smoke sessions, which I'm really looking forward to getting back to. I haven't smoked weed since July 17th. That's a long time for me not smoking. Am I taking edibles? Yes. Is it the same? No. So I'm looking forward to that. That will be fun. Maybe my body's just detoxing. It's like, dude, why aren't you smoking? What's the matter with you? It's like, well, I'm in a place where that's not really happening, friend. So that's it for this episode. Jeez Louise. This was a rambly type of one. I'm trying to get guests too. It's just the Wi-Fi here on a boat, as you can imagine, isn't always the most stable. So just getting this episode uploaded is a challenge. We might have to go on a little smaller boat with a portable modem to upload it. That's my level of dedication. But the Patreon, again, we have the Q&As, the smoke sessions. It's the place to be. It's going to be ramped up. This would be the month to join. Is when I get back to the States, I'm going to overcompensate big time for not doing what I feel like I should be doing there. So patrons, thank you for continuing to sign up. Thank you for being there. It's such a high retention rate from month to month. And it's going to be some cool shit coming out. Also, for people who want like a text breakdown of these episodes, my friend Ganesh, he's been a wonderful helper, is publishing show notes, and they're good, and I really like them. Those are on the website, syncpodcast.com. Also readings, syncpodcast.com/readings. There's a few more open for while I'm in Turkey. Try doing shit from a boat. That's all I'm saying. Is it magical and lovely and amazing? Yes. Is the Wi-Fi good? No. So it's just one of the perils of being on a boat. All right. Now it's time to stop talking. I love you. Be a match.